Greetings from national headquarters in Indianapolis. Today, my guest is R.J. Taylor. Boiled down, his passions are the power of people, community, and belonging. Professionally, R.J. served as Director of Expansion for the National Fraternity for a few years before moving off into a corporate job, and then decided to come back to the fraternity industry. Today, R.J. serves as the Chief Executive Officer for Phired Up, which is a company that focuses on helping college fraternities and sororities recruit college men and women into their organizations. RJ is all about community and recruitment. One of his ongoing goals is to change the way everyone sees the people around them. I'm Wynn Smiley, and this is the ATO Show. So RJ, great to have you with us today. Thanks for taking the time. You have done a lot of interesting things in your short life. One of the perhaps more interesting, or at least one that generates conversations, I'm sure, is your decision to go on World Race, which was about a year-long trip, and I use the word trip very loosely, trip around the world. So tell us a little bit about World Race.
Yeah. So when in 2016, my wife and I were actually thinking about potentially starting our family, and through a connection, actually an ATO connection. His name was Micah, and Micah had just gotten back, and we were at lunch one day, and I think I just started asking a bunch of questions, and I didn't really understand, well, one, what it was, and then two, how someone could decide to do this, to leave their comforts in the United States and to travel the world. And I ended up getting caught up in the story of it all with Micah. And I went home. I think I might have sent my wife that afternoon, maybe his blog or something about what the World Race was. And then we came home and we were making dinner, and Kayla said, I think we should think about this. We should start praying about this. And I was like, well, I don't think they let young families go. I don't know that we could take a baby around the world. And she said, no, I think this is something that we should think about doing instead of starting our family right now. It's something I really want to do. And in 2017, we sold our house, packed up all our stuff, moved into a backpack, and we went around the world. We spent about a year in 11 different countries, and we partnered with in-country, culturally relevant, long-term missions opportunities. So different organizations, sometimes churches, sometimes nonprofits. And what we would do is essentially anything they needed us to do for that month that could contribute to either bringing them breath or life or margin in their time, or just some hands-on projects that they've been meaning to do for years that they just hadn't been able to have enough manpower or hands to be able to get done. And we did everything from teaching English, taught a lot of English around the world, and to doing projects, to actually going out and spending some time in some young rehabilitation, like rehab facilities for young people in Bolivia. There are too many stories, so many stories that we could get into, but it absolutely changed my life and continues to change my life every day.
And we're not talking world race from like London to Paris to Tokyo, right? I mean, you were in some pretty harried places on the globe.
Yeah. Got to see so many beautiful places. We were in Chile, Argentina, Bolivia. Then we did Cambodia and Thailand. We went to Serbia, Romania, and Bulgaria. And then we ended in Africa and Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Uganda.
And you stayed in pretty basic accommodations, correct?
We stayed in a lot of different types of places. When we slept in tents, we slept in barns, we slept in rooms and in homes, pretty much anywhere that had a flat surface and we could set up a sleeping pad. It became our home for that month. And so it was fun, and we lived in community. That was one of the most beautiful parts of it, is that we weren't just doing this alone. It was my wife and I, and we had 46 other young adults from around the country, all from different backgrounds and different faith beliefs, and it was awesome to get to live that year together as we were both serving and experiencing life and meeting new people. And I was changed as much by the travel and the people that I got to spend the year living with.
So, finishing up World Race and getting a few months to decompress, when you look back on that, or when you looked back on it a few months out of having done it, what were the big takeaways for you?
Yeah, it's a great question, Wynn. The first thing I'd say is that my definition of neighbor changed pretty drastically. And I believe that our neighbors around the world are a lot closer than we perceive them oftentimes to be. And people who are real humans living lives just like all of us, they have similar feelings as we do. They have similar, although economic factors all considered, sure, and culture is super important. I met a lot of new friends and a lot of new neighbors, and I started to be able to see that there's probably more that we have in similar than we do in difference, and that's changed the way that I view my life. The way that honestly, we haven't stopped the World Race, Wynn, and my wife and I have just kept going. After that initial experience, we decided that we were going to make a marriage goal, a life goal, to visit every single country in the world. And so we're on that goal right now together. This year, we've gone to 2 new countries. We went to the United Arab Emirates and Oman in March, and we're going to New Zealand in November. That'll be country number 52. And so we've been to, at this point, about a quarter of the world. And the genuine friendships that I have, that are the important people in my life, people that I still message with and talk to today, like Mop from Cambodia, or Moses from Rwanda, or Habti in Ethiopia, or my friend Hussein from Oman that we just met. We spent a whole day together hiking in a wadi in Oman. It was the most beautiful, fun experience of our trip in March. These people are not just, people of another culture, another nationality far away. They're friends, they're neighbors. That was it. It means a lot to me. It changes who I'm becoming, and I get to learn from them about who they're becoming, and it's what I think that we're all put on this earth to do.
Yeah, so I'm going to make a hard transition here. And we'll talk about your ATO experience, but in this particular question, so you were in a community in ATO as an undergraduate, a fairly unique community on college campuses these days among college men trying to make a chapter work, making a chapter work in that community, compared to, and here's the hard transition, compared to the community that you spent a year with going around the world. What things did you learn in your World Race community that were similar? You said, oh, that feels a little bit like a fraternity chapter.
Yeah.
And what things were very different?
Yep. One of the things that was very different was, I don't know that I could have got some of my fraternity brothers to sleep in some of the places that we all slept in. Fraternity house, didn't feel much like a fraternity house oftentimes.
Right. Which that says something.
Right. And I also, some of the similarities were, fraternity is one of my favorite things that I ever heard at a fraternity or ATO actually event was, it might have been you that said it, but I can't remember if it was Dave Rodriguez or you said that when it boils down to it, ATO is a place to belong and a place to be forged. And I don't remember exactly where that was said. It was maybe a couple of years ago, but I wrote that down in my notes app. And I think about that all the time. And so when I think about the similarities of the World Race and ATO, we had to learn to love each other. There was a bond that was something bigger than just handed to us. We had to choose it. We all chose to do this experience together. We all chose ATO together in that similar way. And then the choice made it even more stronger of a bond in a community for us to go around the world and to commit to doing this together, taking care of each other. Because if we didn't, then we weren't going to be fit to do what we had been called to do in these communities. And so in the same way, honestly, it was communication, learning how to talk to each other, how to work across differences of opinion and belief, how to be with each other in some pretty hard things, but then also celebrate and have a ton of fun, getting to experience what in ATO is a period of your life that is truly once in a lifetime gift. In the same way, the world race was truly a once in a lifetime gift.
Yeah, I'm just curious, how many times did the phrase "no north, no south, no east, no west" go through your brain as you were going around the world?
All the time. I mean, I was telling somebody the other day that I actually believe that I'm becoming more ATO every day of my life. At least I hope that I am. I believe that I am. I think about when I was 18 or 19 years old at Austin Peay State University, where all your hopes and dreams come true, and I was joining ATO. I think when I read the creed, I had to memorize, the creed. I'm sure everyone references the creed. But I think I read things like to teach that true men the world over should stand together and contend for the supremacy of good over evil. And I was like, cool. To have no narrower limits within which to work together for the elevation of man than the outlines of the world. Cool. No, I'm trying to go to the outlines of the world now. Like and to think about when Otis wrote that in 1880, what? The outlines of the world was so big back then. I think the world's actually gotten so much smaller since then. That was an even more of a radical idea in 1880 than it potentially is today. And so I think when I thought like going through my new member period, I got initiated, I'd be ATO. I think the older I get and the more time I spend traveling and the more people that I meet, the more places I find to belong and to be forged, I think I'm becoming more and more ATO every day.
What's really interesting is Glazebrook wrote that in 1880, well before he traveled overseas,
Right.
to Palestine, to Nice, anywhere. So the only experience that he would have known would have been in the continental United States and whatever he read prior to him penning that creed. So I think that probably comes mostly from his seminary training, from Scripture,
Yeah.
as it relates to all of those issues. He then actually lived them
Yeah.
later on, but he wrote it before he lived it.
Yeah, I just think about, I mentioned some friends earlier. And man, those friends, in a lot of ways, from just interacting with them and spending a month or so with those friends from all over the world, they feel like ATO brothers to me. And I hope that they were able to feel and to know ATO through me, even though they might not obviously understand American higher education, fraternity, and all of the other components of it. When I read the creed, it's awesome, it's inspiring, and it definitely is something that I think about that Otis could have chosen just to say, from across the country, or he could have chosen to say and make it very in the moment. But he wrote something that I think that we can all be proud of as members, that will last a lifetime and stretches around the globe.
Right. And so obviously, because your profession now is helping fraternities and sororities recruit college students into the Greek system. So what was it about your undergraduate experience in ATO that first led you to join the National Fraternity staff and then eventually make your profession as someone who is recruiting college students into fraternities and sororities?
Yeah. Well, as you can imagine, when there's not a degree at Austin Peay State University that is undergraduate fraternity recruitment, and so that's definitely not how I stumbled upon this career and this calling that I have on my life. I was involved in recruiting for my chapter when I was an undergraduate. I joined ATO because ATO had recently started on my campus. I saw it as an opportunity to be a part of building something rather than joining something that had existed, at least at Austin Peay, for a long time. And I also was drawn to the Christian principles and values just from the way that I was raised and the things that were important to me in my life at that point. I played music and played in a kind of worship band and stuff around town. And the guys in the ATO chapter were actually doing a devotional Bible study, and it was sticky to me that even though I hadn't attended yet, that was something that they would choose to do on their own in college. That was it wasn't evangelical in nature. They weren't like forcing it on it. It was just like it felt like a place that I could belong, maybe a place I could be forged. And so that's why I joined ATO, was through friends that I had met. I'd never thought I would join a fraternity. I'm one of those stories, and ATO just stuck out to me as something different and something I could be a part of growing. And then I met you my sophomore year, which I guess is a rare opportunity that turned into transforming the rest of my life. And so when we decided that we were going to start the Encounter retreat, the Encounter program, back in 2010 or 11, and you invited me to be a part of Encounter, all of that interaction with the different, obviously your staff and the different team members at the National Fraternity gave me an affinity and a new place to potentially belong even within ATO. And then I was going to go to law school, Wynn, and you said, what if you didn't? And I said, I don't know what else I would do then. And you said, what if you went and started ATO chapters? And I didn't know somebody did that. It makes sense now to me, obviously in my career, that that's somebody's job, but did not occur to me. I was even part of a new chapter, and it still didn't even occur to me that somebody's job was to help start that. And then through obviously different relationships and time, I felt like I'd give that a few years and then go back to law school and win. Never been back to law school. So that's what set me off on this fraternity and sorority recruitment journey.
Yeah, just to set the record straight so no one misunderstands, you're very happy that you decided not to go to law school.
Very happy, that I did not go to law school. No, I love what I do right now. And I just had no concept that this would even be possible, or that this would be a career or place that I could have an impact when I was 19 years old in the chapter.
Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, people who were not part of the Greek system or have never been part of the Greek system, that what is it that makes you passionate about recruiting students, college students, into the Greek system? Obviously, you do it because you think it's hugely beneficial for them. What specifically is it that you think that motivates you in your profession?
Yeah. Well, first, it's that I wouldn't be who I am today, and I think that my family and my friends probably wouldn't even be who they are today, my inner circle, if it weren't for fraternity coming into my life. I'd have a lot of the things that I assumed that my life would look like, a lot of the paths that my dad and my grandpa and my great-grandpa took, those are the paths that were kind of given to me as a young man that I thought that I'd have to, that I'd explore, and fraternity changed the trajectory of my life. And the second one is, I believe I've seen this all over the world, and definitely coast to coast here in the United States, an epidemic of loneliness, especially in the context of ATO with young men today. There's a lot of life being lived side by side and back to back and looking away from each other, and less life every day looking each other in the eyes. And there's real repercussions to that. And I believe that there is no better, no more potent, no more opportunistic place for young men, especially on college campuses today, than in fraternity. A place to actually truly belong and to become who you're meant to become, and to have people who actually see you every day, look you in the eyes, not just post and you see it and perform for each other via, physical devices. This is this thing called fraternity that was started so long ago, over 150 years ago in ATO. I believe it actually is more relevant today than it potentially has ever been in the history of humanity. Fraternity and sorority, a place where people can show up who they are as they are, and then have other people who are calling them into being a better version of themselves. There is no better place for young people that are in college today than fraternity and sorority. And there are real life implications to this. There are, I think, community implications to this. I think that the next generation of leaders, people that have spent time in community like this, will be better leaders because of it, better fathers because of it, better community volunteers, and honestly, I think just better family members because of spending time in a community where people believe in you, they see you, and they call you to be better than you were yesterday.
So when you're going through your day, and we all have oh, that was really cool to hear, or that was a cool thing that happened, that sort of gives you a little fuel to to push through the days that aren't those, and of course every job has those as well.
Sure.
What are some of the examples of cool things that you hear or you see as part of what you do that fuels you?
Yeah. When it's, I love to grow things. I love recruitment. I love sales. I love marketing. I love being a part of things that are growing. I love the strategy and the chess of it all. And sometimes when we get talking about recruitment, we can find ourselves talking a lot of numbers. Maybe the number of leads that we're generating, or the number of new members specifically that joined. And the thing that actually fuels me is when maybe I'm working with a chapter and they have a record of the past few years of recruiting, maybe single digit, not recruiting up to their potential. And we work together, we build a strategy, we track all of those numbers, and we push into recruiting in a dynamic way. But then I get to meet the actual names, the men who joined. And I think about like two things. One, it gets me so excited because without the work that chapters put in to go find these new friends and these new people, these new members of ATO, without that work, then this person's life would look very different. Like, cause I just know how different my life looks. And so when I meet a new member of ATO, or really any fraternity or sorority, I'm just so excited thinking about all the different moments in my life that after I made that ATO decision, this person is going to have similar and different experiences. That gets me really fired up, for lack of a better pun. And it also makes me eager to help more people do it. Because what it means is that if we were able to get a result and we were able to find these friends and these people, and their lives will be changed for the rest, for their lives their trajectory will be changed. It means that there's actually a ton of other people who are potentially walking across college campuses today that are lonely, they're bored, they don't have this community, and they would really love a place to belong and a group of friends to call them into being who they're to become.
So what do you hear from, like recruitment chairmen or chapter presidents who are wise and follow the instruction and advice you and the folks at Phired Up give recruiting chairmen and chapter presidents as it relates to growing their chapter? They have success, and I'm sure you hear from some of these folks. What kinds of things do you hear?
My favorite response that has actually become, I've just started trying to count how many times that I get this text. When I'll get a text from somebody that I've worked with, and it'll just be, sometimes they don't even introduce themselves because like in my phone I might have their number saved, and then they'll say something like, "Holy smokes, RJ, it works. It really worked." Like it's hard to believe, because a lot of what we've been handed as static recruitment or traditional recruitment tactics, the events-based recruitment, the kind of post about it and see who shows up, it's so passive. It assumes that there's a giant buyer pool out there that's just walking around eager to join fraternity. And then obviously if they just look around their chapters, they know, like, if you ask your own chapter, like, raise your hand, how many of you thought when you came to college you would be a part of a fraternity? The percentage is relatively low. And so when that clicks for them, that light bulb comes on, and then they say, "Oh, wait a minute. If there's actually not just thousands of guys lining up outside our door because we posted about free pizza, if instead we go try to find we go try to find them, the people that are already in their chapter that maybe aren't interested in joining fraternity today, and we give them relationships." The text back is always, it's like, "Holy smokes, this works. I couldn't believe it." And one of my favorite pieces of feedback is, "And it was actually less work."
And at the very core, the foundation, what you're asking them to do is certainly not a secret. What do you think the power is in what they're engaging, or actually what they are engaging? Very simple, I guess, and they just never have thought that making a friend by having lunch or engaging in conversation works. They just haven't had a lot of experience with that because they're so young. What's your assessment? You've seen a lot of this over the years.
Well, I don't. I would say I don't. Anyone that we train, and anytime I'm spending time, especially with undergraduate ATS, no one pushes back on me about whether or not it could work. The philosophy is sound. There's nerves. I mean, it's a practice. I'll say this: when I was not practiced at this, and a lot of what we teach today, as an 18 and 19-year-old, I did not do. I did some of it, and we did it through a lens of static recruitment. We didn't have the perspective that we have today, and we got some all right results doing that. But it is a practice to look up from your hands, to look up from your phone, and to walk around. And actually, I say this, to be a social fraternity. I think a lot of guys watching this would say ATO is a social fraternity. I actually agree. So why don't you go be social? Not social doesn't mean sit back, and that's actually antisocial in nature. What it would mean to be social would be, and what if ATOs were the men on campus that were known to actually be the most genuinely social humans? And they walk around campus, they say good morning, they say hi, their eyes are up, not down, their headphones are off, not covering their ear, like to be actually checked into life on campus. I believe fraternity it breathes life into campus when it's done best. It's what ATO is. It's a social fraternity. And it's hard. It's practice. We'll do challenges where we ask guys, say, hey, just one time today in between classes, give me a try. Just do one time, walk from this side of campus to this side of campus with a different perspective than you have on a random Tuesday, and see two things. See, one, how many people you see that might actually become a great fit for ATO one day. And then two, see how different your day in your life feels. It turns out that as humans, we were designed for this connection thing, okay? And we were never meant to do this thing alone. And so your day, coincidentally, actually, as you go out and you build real relationships, people who may end up joining ATO, you find out that your day actually starts to feel a little more brighter as well.
So you've seen a lot of college undergraduates today, and there's certainly a lot of commentary, a lot of news stories. We talked about it a little earlier in terms of the loneliness and whatnot on campuses, but that, of course, doesn't describe everybody. Sure. But you interact with a lot of college students. What's your assessment of the demographic of 18 to 23-year-old men who are either in a fraternity or thinking about joining a fraternity when you take a step back and think of the state of college fraternity-related men? Mm-hmm. What thoughts come to mind?
I think, there's definitely conversation happening when around mental health and what you just mentioned. I think that you're correct in saying that that's not everyone. We should make sure we say that out loud so we don't create more of what we are saying that we want to bring a solution to. And I still think there are people that feel disconnected. And I believe my assessment on the industry and students today is that they're actually joiners. They're joiners in things that bring value to them, and they're joiners in things that people intentionally ask them to consider joining. And you probably have less always joiners today than ever before, which is why I receive a lot of feedback from students who say that there's just less people registering for recruitment. Well, that's the problem, is that who registers for a recruitment? Who says, I want to, yeah, exactly. I actually did back in the day. So let me say this, but today, it's just like, I think what you're finding is that there's more people that probably fall into the category that we talk about called maybe joiners. And what I know is that those maybe joiners, we see it time and time again. It is not that they are passionately, about, I want to be disengaged. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to join a community. I don't want to be in fraternity. I don't want anything that's going to help me be better in life. That's not true. These are impressive. These are the future CEOs of AI companies. Whatever. These are people that do not think that way. They also will only express interest if there's a relationship there. We got to establish a relationship first. So I think we actually are in a culture of joining. It's just it's a culture of relationship joining versus not joining. Maybe like impression-based joining. It's whoever we go out and build relationships with. I believe that they'll join. And today, it's happening. You see more students choosing potentially, larger state schools. Again, not everyone. This is just basic enrollment data and aggregate enrollment data. And so, in a lot of the places that we have chapters, this open recruitment, this dynamic recruitment strategy is going to be more relevant than ever.
Great. We started this conversation with you going on World Race, and it was a mission, and you felt called into that a little bit. Your faith played a role. Do you feel like your work now is a form of a mission?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, Wynn. ATO changed my life and changed the trajectory of my career, and then it connected me to the World Race and an experience that changed my life and changed the trajectory of my career, but also changed the way that my wife and I wanted to lead our lives and to build kind of the culture of our family. And so in a really fun way, really everything in my life is a version of gathering people together, building genuine relationships, and helping to create places of community where people can thrive. I view it as love your neighbor, and we live in a society that tries to actually tell us the opposite. They say, your comfort is what's most important. Your whether you're stressed or anxiety, or your ability to make money is what's most important, or your ability, focus on yourself. I mean, it gets really loud in this culture. Buy things for yourself, and your satisfaction, your happiness is what's most important. I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I think your happiness, the outcomes of your life are tied to other people and your ability to give, not to just walk around and think about what you can get. So yeah, I think my whole life in a way has turned into a version of ATO, the World Race, essentially places, meeting new people, building relationships, learning from people, giving to people, and creating spaces where people can thrive and belong.
That's a great wrap, RJ. Thank you for taking the time to share your thoughts with us. Always a pleasure to work with you. I think the entire Greek system benefits from the work that you do, that your company does, and it was great hearing a little bit about RJ Taylor.
Thanks, Wynn. Love and respect.
Love and respect.